thought I would do a video on breathwork. I tried doing this before, and I forgot that I kind of didn't go over some of it and didn't go over one of the methods and stuff like that. I'm not a breathwork expert. I don't do this every day. I try and incorporate it as much as I can. Breathwork, depending on kind of the one you use, it can be kind of more stimulating, it can be relaxing, it can be good for healing. I think all of them typically kind of engage the parasympathetic nervous system. There's several different styles people have just come up with, from yogic traditions, from different religions, I believe, as well too. And there's some that are, really popular. And these are the ones that I've used and that I've kind of picked up on, and I use on a varying basis, on a daily basis. It depends on what I'm kind of trying to do, and I've kind of listed about 6 of them. And one of them is kind of, I guess it is breath work, but it's just abdominal deep breathing, which is basically, it's pretty well known, but basically if a lot of people, to start off with, I think a lot of people, when they get nervous, they have anxiety, they're stressed, they typically kind of breathe through just kind of their upper chest and not really fully through their lungs, and which is something that I do, and they don't take full breath, and it's kind of shallow breathing. And I think it's also more beneficial to breathe through your nose as much as possible. If you're sick or if you have allergies or something, you obviously can't do that. But breathing through your nose is much more helpful, especially at night. I may do something when I do an episode or video on sleep, because there are some things I do for sleep, and one of them is I do mouth taping, and that is to promote more breathing through the nose and nasal breathing. And I believe it has some benefits of increasing nitric oxide and oxygen and stuff like that in your body and stuff like that. But there's abdominal breathing is basically, taking a deep breath in and out and expanding and then contracting basically your whole diaphragm, your abdominals every time you breathe. And you can do that. I typically try and do that when I'm meditating. It's a good kind of habit to get into, especially if you're kind of stressed and stuff like that. And I try and do it through my nose as much as possible. But basically about 6 different that I've listed that I'm aware of that I've used is kind of the quasi or semi Wim Hof. It's similar to Wim Hof, but it's not quite Wim Hof, which I'll get to in a bit. Boot Yako, which is more for sleep, and I'll get in that a bit. And then there's Wim Hof. There's alternate nasal breathing, which is from yoga, I believe. There's Huberman kind of breath. I don't know where he got it from. It may have been yoga or something else, but it's basically something to kind of help calm you down anxiety. And then also the abdominal. The abdominal I've kind of gone through, and I'll try and demonstrate. That's why I'm not wearing my typical blue light blocking glasses, is so I could demonstrate kind of a semi Wim Hof. It's kind of going off a document and kind of list them all so I remember which one, all of them. Semi Wim Hof is basically Wim Hof. Before I get into that, Wim Hof is he's kind of well known for, he's kind of I guess a health influencer, health coach of sorts. And his program is basically, you can get certified and you can go to these events, and he has a book and stuff. And I've actually read his book or listened to his audiobook, and he's been on a bunch of podcasts, and he's pretty well known, but he kind of been through a lot of trauma and other stuff like that. But he kind of, I believe, derived the Wim Hof breathing or breath work from kind of yogic traditions and kind of adapted it some, because there are some similar kind of breath work and breathing techniques. But he also incorporates movement, yoga and stuff like that, and also cold exposure. The other thing is, when you're doing all this breath work, it's best to do it, and it's a good idea to do it when you're not either sitting or lying down, and don't do it in a bathtub. Don't do it in, whether you're doing cold or hot. It's just not a good idea, especially in the case that some of these can be kind of intense, and if you push yourself too hard, you can feel dizzy, you can pass out and stuff like that. The semi Wim Hof is basically doing part of the breath work, which is basically you breathe in and out deeply, but kind of in a quick manner. And so it basically, when you do it enough, when you do it about 30-40 times, is you kind of oxygenate, from my understanding, the kind of the science or pseudoscience behind it is it basically kind of oxygenates your body, and it kind of lowers the carbon dioxide in your body, and it can also help increase neurotransmitters and DMT and stuff, supposedly. But it's basically just doing the first part where you're doing quick 30 breaths, like that, 30 or 40 times, and you'll feel a bit kind of a little bit almost I want to say similar to being lightheaded or dizzy, but it's not quite that. And you do that, and you can do that one time a day, a few times a day, or whatever. And the Wim Hof, continuing on, because it's similar to Wim Hof, is and I got that, I believe, from an influencer I read or saw it, and I've seen it a few times. But the Wim Hof is more breathing method, and you can follow these videos where where it's kind of like a interactive kind of timer on a YouTube video, where you'll do the 30-40 breaths, and then the next part is where you actually push out all the air, and you don't take like a deep breath in, like you hold your breath like taking a deep like that. You kind of just blow it all out and kind of just hold it, and you hold that for about a minute and a half or so, because basically you don't really have any oxygen because you didn't take a whole breath and you blew everything out. You hold that for about a minute and a half. You don't want to push yourself too hard because there's a possibility of passing out and stuff like that. And you do that for about a minute and a half. You can increase that over time as you kind of become more disciplined, you get used to it. And I believe also, as depending on your health and cardiovascular and stuff like that, you can also push it further. And then once that is, you do take a deep breath and you hold that for about 30 seconds or so. And I think it does take some nuance and it does take some practice, but if you do it correctly, it's really relaxing, really calming, and it's kind of almost euphoric feeling. I don't know, there's something about breath holding and stuff like that it can really help your body out and really helps relax you and really engage this parasympathetic that I haven't really experienced elsewhere, unless I do like a lot of like Tai Chi or yoga or something like that. And you can get this within like literally minutes. And Wim Hof, you can do like typically you do about 3 or 4 rounds. You can do more possibly in a row. I typically do like maybe 1 round at a time, and then I maybe do 1 or 2 more throughout the day and stuff like that. Buteyko, moving on to kind of breath holding, is Buteyko is this kind of whole system, and you get certified and stuff like that, but it's around sleep, improving sleep quality, and I believe it's kind of the originators of the people that do mouth taping and stuff. And you can find mouth tape. You can just use like kind of regular tape. I wouldn't use like something super strong like Gorilla Tape or duct tape unless you really want to, but you can use, like I use like this kind of thin red 3M tape, but there's also tape that you can get like on Amazon and stuff that's designed for this as well too. And you can do it a few times in a row. You do want to take a break, but you basically do a breath hold, and it helps calm and relax you, especially if you're having trouble sleeping, and it can help you fall asleep and help with insomnia and stuff like that. The other one that's similar to that you can also use kind of for sleep but also help relax is called alternate nasal breathing, where you basically plug one nose at a time, or one nostril at a time, not one nose, one nostril at a time, and you breathe fully in and out, and then you alternate and you basically plug the other one, so it's like that. And I believe you do that for quite a while, at least a few minutes, if not longer. And it is that pretty relaxing. I believe it's from yoga, maybe some other sources as well too. The other kind of I've heard recently that's good for anxiety and like overall, and it just helps relax you, is kind of like the Huberman breathing or breath, and that's basically where you take a full breath, but then you inhale like a little extra, like whatever you can through your nose, and it really helps like relax you and can help with anxiety and stuff like that. Yeah, that's basically like all the different, like about 6 or so breathing techniques. I don't breathing techniques, breath work and stuff. It can really help with kind of stress, anxiety and stuff like that. And for most of these, I would say it's hard to kind of do like at work, or if you're driving or something like that. It's not really a good idea. Maybe aside from maybe the Huberman breathing, the alternate nasal breathing, you can kind of, I don't know, you can probably do in a car or something like that if you're not driving and stuff like that. Yeah, I hope everyone find this helpful. Once I kind of learn more breath work and stuff like that, this is something I may dive into, because this isn't something I do on a consistent basis or have been super consistent with, but I'm kind of working on. But yeah, hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone is healthy and happy, and I'll see you guys later.